living it up in the city. Got Chuck's on with Saint Laurent. Gotta kiss myself, I'm so pretty.
Welcome to the Market Snapshot. This is Dan French with Nova Home Loans. I'm here today with my good friend Chakits Krulsawat from Simply Vegas. What's going on, Chuck?
Woo! I drank a lot of coffee. I'm ready to go.
We got a great show for you today. Wanted to tell you, Chuck, first off, Doug, how you doing today, Doug?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing amazing. Doing really well.
Awesome. It's that water you drink.
Yeah, it's the water. It's a smart water.
It's that smart water.
Yeah, it's making me smart today. Also wanted to give talk to Chuck today about some things. And one thing I want to say, I say this every single week, it's a pleasure and a privilege to educate the Las Vegas community. You know that, right, Chuck?
That's why we're here 7 days a week on a Sunday, bringing you guys the content.
That's exactly right. Here, Chuck, I want to ask you a quick question. What's going on with some events? You got some things to talk about?
Of course. Nevada jobless rates steady. The Las Vegas Valley unemployment rate slipped to 7.2% from 7.5% in January and 8.5% from year to date. More than 13,000 jobs were actually added, 4.1% in hospitality. Mm-hmm. In the construction business is actually 5.3%, and also in retail 4.4%. This is important because this shows you that people are out here spending money. People are coming out here.
Right.
Now, when people come out here and spend money, they have to hire the hospitality industry and also retail, and construction is taking place. These people got to live somewhere. So now's the time to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's talk about Nevada wages. State Senator Tick Sumberg, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, you got that. Real close.
Yeah, it was pretty close. Proposed to raise...
How about Segerblom?
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Proposes to raise minimum wages up to $15 an hour. Now, if it goes to $15 an hour, I do have a concern here because there...
$15 an hour? That's double almost, isn't it?
I know.
What is... I don't know what the minimum is now.
I think it's $7.75 right now.
Okay.
But they were talking to raise it to $9 an hour, but he wants to raise it to $15 an hour. The problem is that if we raise it to $15 an hour, there's no more dollar menu, guys. We're looking at $5 menus.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Now, we actually have some really good news with the Nevada taxable sales increase by 8.3%. Taxes across the state has totaled $3.8 billion in January, up 8.3 from $3.5 billion in January 2014, according to the Department of Taxation. The biggest spending sector is bar and restaurants at 28% at $796 million, electronics at 24% at $98 million, and you have home improvements at $54 million. And also the car industry at $324 million. What that means is people are spending money.
Yeah, there's money out there to be spent. They just need to start spending it on houses, right?
Dan, your favorite store is coming.
Oh, yeah, IKEA.
IKEA! It's actually expected to break ground April 2015. It's actually scheduled to open in 2016. Located over here in 215 in Durango, IKEA is going to attain nearly over 10,000 products in their stores. 50 inspirational room settings, restaurants, also a supervised children's play area. So, Dan, now you can drop off your kids in the morning and pick them up after work.
Yeah. You know what's? I went to IKEA in California. And
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, I got lost, though. You know, every time you looked at something and you're off on another situation, you can't find people.
That's true.
And that's maybe a good thing for somebody that wants to get lost, right?
I'm all for this, them bringing out IKEA, because here's the thing. They're going to add additional 500 construction jobs and 300 permanent jobs. So I think this is a great thing for us.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and we're going to talk here. Hey, Chuck, did you know that the Monster Jam truck finals is going on this week? Did you know that?
No, I didn't, but I think there went your car.
Yeah, car? Man, my car's souped up, man.
Well, your car just got rammed over.
You remember when you were a kid and you always were like, hey, do you ever remember watching it when you were a kid?
Yeah, I actually went to one a couple years ago. I think Gravedigger is like one of the biggest name monster trucks.
You don't remember Bigfoot?
Oh, yeah. yeah.
He's the
yeah.
original starter, and Doug's actually the guy that talked to me about that. He said
Oh,
he
yeah,
was,
that's right.
He's a Bigfoot connoisseur. That's what he said. So we're also gonna talk today about the not the Las Vegas Review Journal, but this came from the Las Vegas Review Journal. We were looking at something that was emailed to me. It's Resorts World. Breaking news today. What it was is that Malaysia-based Genting will break ground on a $4 billion Resorts World Las Vegas on May 5th. Coming to the Strip. It's a Strip development. Did you know about this, Chuck?
Yeah, I think we drove by it the other night, huh?
Yeah, it was something that I don't really go down there too much, and it's funny you see things popped up everywhere. And you're like, I didn't see that there, But I did a little research on it, and it's planning for 2 years. It's projected 3,000 hotel rooms and a casino with a combined 3,500 slot machines and table games in its initial phase.
Wow, that's telling you Vegas is really thriving.
Yeah, I mean, you start to see things starting to build rapidly. What that tells me is the economy, I don't think it's fully recovered. Obviously, we've talked about that before. But what it's doing is it's showing that, hey, there's more stability. We talked about that, stabilization here. And it looks like people are starting to build.
And I think this is taking place because money is cheap to borrow. So if you're also out here listening to the station, you got to take advantage because money is very cheap right now.
Yeah, the other things it's going to have, the property will have 30 food and beverage outlets and 4,000-seat theater.
Wow.
And an elaborate garden attraction. What do you think about that?
Wow.
So let's go right into the market rundown here. Chuck, let's go talk to everyone about what we're going to be talking about on the show.
Rundown.
Housing market statistics. You're always going to start off with that. I'm going to talk about where interest rates are trending. I'm going to go over loan options after bankruptcy. You're going to talk about inspection differences, right?
That's right. There's so many inspections out there that everybody needs to be aware about when you're buying a home.
I'm going to talk about Chase's payout to bankruptcy homeowners, and then we're going to go over our lender versus realtor face-off. It's mainstay on the show.
That's where we duke it out, huh?
And if you guys have any questions regarding anything pertaining to the show, financing or real estate, you can call us in studio today at 257-5396. You can reach us outside studio at 781-6682. That's 781-NOVA. And I told you, consultations. We've talked about that, how much consultations are running.
How much are they?
Well, if you're not listening to this show, my consultations are $9.99. We talked about that. Yeah.
$9.99.
Yeah. You come in and you say, hey, I listen to the market snapshot. Guess what it's going to be?
Free $99.
That's right. It's going to be free.
We always giving away free stuff here.
We also put together a series of educational videos. Chuck, what is that?
It's a library of educational videos called Take Notes. It has to do with a bunch of professionals in the industry. That, if you're a first-time home buyer, a savvy investor, or looking to sell, go there, and you can find some quick tips. Talking about that, I want to tell you a quick story that I was doing.
Quick?
Real quick.
Okay.
I was doing an open house the other day, and a gentleman came by to the open house. He's waiting for his AC to be installed. What happened was he actually had a tenant in place, but they vacated, and somebody stole the AC unit because he went to his insurance company, and the insurance company went in to insure that AC unit. And the reason why is because he didn't call the insurance company to let them know that the property was vacated for a month. If he not listened to that show, he would have saved $3,500.
See? Everybody's losing money.
Exactly.
They're losing money not listening to the show.
And this is all free content.
Everybody out there needs to call into the show. Just ask a question. We're looking for people to help them here in Las Vegas. Give us a call.
Visit simplyvegashomes.com.
I also wanted to tell you that we have, for this show only, we give away a free appraisal and a free home inspection.
Free.
We're going to talk about that again at the end of the show. Next caller also will get a free lunch to Sammy's Pizza. We're going to give that away. And what's going on in the housing market, Chuck?
The housing market. This is where we bring it play-by-play, week to week with the market snapshots. Overall, the inventory. Actually, according to the multiple listing service, including single-family residence, condos, townhomes, manufactured homes, duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes, and also high-rises, the overall inventory has increased by 8% and also increased in sales by 24% since last week to date. Traditional sales still hold about 85% of the market share. Short sales still hold about 11%, and bank-owned properties hold about 4%.
Did you see anything in the market that was a little bit more, eye-catching to you in this last week?
Yeah, what I've realized is that a lot of sellers are starting to put their properties on the market here.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of them, too, are out there. Some of them are overpricing in some ways.
Yeah, and what's happening is these buyers are going out and they're picking and choosing, but when you work with the right agent, that agent's going to tell you right off the bat, hey, this property's overpriced. We need to start our asking price at this price. Okay.
Well,
So-
Chuck, you got more?
Yeah. So
let's talk about it.
You're probably wondering why is this information very important to the consumer out here? Because here's the thing: real estate out here in Vegas is like a game of Monopoly, but in real life. So if you're a buyer, seller, or an investor, this data will help put you in a right position, so that way you have a better game plan.
Oh.
But here's the thing: every week, I don't want to just talk about in general about real estate. I'm going to break it down by sector. So we're going to be talking about fourplexes. Okay, the average fourplexes that are selling now is about $50,000 per unit. 95% of these fourplexes in today's market are actually traditional sales. Only 2 properties has sold last week. This sector is not moving because the seasoned investors are not making the return on investment that is expected. A savvy investor in today's market, they're looking anywhere from 14 or even higher for cash-on-cash return. Okay?
Well, that's very interesting.
Was
Guess
I talking too fast?
No, you actually did that very, very good here. So we got a caller on line 1 here. Hi, this is welcome to the Market Snapshot. This is Dan. How can I help you?
Hi, I was calling with a question regarding a home loan.
Hi, how are you? Okay, go ahead.
Good, thank you. I have a house that's about $10,000 in equity.
Okay.
My current realtor is telling me I need to consider a short sale. What would your opinion be on that?
Chuck, would you?
Yeah.
Is that something you would work with?
Here's the thing. I don't think the banks would let you do a short sale. She said that she's
$10,000 underwater.
Oh, underwater.
Yeah.
I thought she had equity.
She's asking is
No, negative equity.
Negative equity,
Well,
right.
here's the thing. If you're at $10,000 underwater, this is something where you got to run the numbers with me to see if it even makes sense to do a short sale or if you want to strategize and get out of it. But typically, with my clients, if they're anywhere from 10 to 20,000, I would say, hey, if you can make the payments, there's no reason to do a short sale. Like right now, I bought a home in 2008, and it was for $195, and I barely just broke even. And I'm really not making any money. I'm probably underwater additional $20,000 with all the repairs, but I'm going to stick it out because what I did was refinance the home on an FHA and was able to get a lower a payment. So it worked out.
Yeah,
So-
and I think in a market like this, it's like we said last show, it's stabilized. So I think in her situation, we're not going to probably see that appreciation that we've seen when people were $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. I was one of those people. I had a property that was $20,000. I think it was $25,000 underwater. And what happened is I was like, you know what, I'm going to short sale. And I don't know why I didn't. It was like a gut feeling.
Yeah.
But I didn't. And it came back, and now I have equity in the property. But this is a different market. So I think it would be something that she would really need to look at. I would say she would maybe hold on to the property, right, and see if it does appreciate, because it's not too far underwater.
No, and this, it really comes down to the situation of your life. It's, hey, do I want to strategize and short sell and get out of it and start all over because you're not happy with the property? Or if you are happy with the property, what are your monthly payments? And it really just comes down to your situation.
Also, I want to say, we say this every show, you really buy a property and you look at the return on your dollar. You have to run it as a business. And I think if it's a business standpoint, obviously it's negative at this point. But I think long term, it's going to pay off in this situation. Nobody really has a crystal ball if we're ever going to go back to the market we've seen before. But I do think being that low, negative equity, I think you should hold on to the property. That's my opinion.
Well, let me ask you this. How much is your mortgage payment? I think we need to start there. A month.
It's $750.
Oh, $750? So here's the thing. Even though that you're negative, that doesn't mean nothing because you're at $750, and I'm sure you probably got, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms?
Correct.
Okay, and you could probably rent that out for about $1,100 to $1,200 a month where you're actually getting some cash flow. Now, if you run this thing like a business and you can show that you're having positive cash flow, now you can go back to Dan and get a loan, and we can actually get you another home. So this is actually a good investment property, even though that you're underwater, because you are cash flowing.
One last thing I want to say before we let you go is, if you look at it as somebody that, hey, I want to do the short sale, and you decide that maybe I should go rent. In a lot of cases, it's still more expensive to rent than it is to have a mortgage.
That's correct.
Absolutely.
And I think if you're at $750 and you're in a 3-bedroom home, you're probably going to be paying $150, $200 more than what
That's
you're currently paying.
You're absolutely right.
So if you want to get in contact with us outside of studio, you can call us at 781-6682. That's 781-NOVA. You can schedule a free consultation with me and Chuck, and we'll sit down and talk with you, okay?
Oh, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the advice.
Thank you for calling in.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
She definitely had the advantage there.
She does.
She's in a good
She
position.
does. Yeah, I mean, she's not in a bad position at all.
No, she's in a real good position.
So go ahead. Are you still talking about you're done with the market, right?
yeah, that's
So I want to talk about where interest rates ended up this week. Mortgage bonds finished the week near unchanged, holding mortgage rates steady. Okay, rates were stable the first portion of the week despite mixed data, meaning volatility. Rates rose Wednesday afternoon and Thursday morning despite stock market weakness and renewed troubles in the Middle East. Okay, so a lot of indication is, hey, where's the market at with employment, and a wage inflation and things that's coming in here. The jobs week coming up with the 3 reports detailing in the employment situation in this upcoming week will really determine, I think, where the rates are going to start to head. Federal Reserve Chairman Janet Yellen, she's really looked at the idea of full employment is where everyone wants to be, and they understand that. Everybody wants to get this market recovered. Then I think at that point they're going to say, hey, we're going to start to raise rates. And I've said this every week. Rates will my opinion, will start to go up in the beginning of summertime. Okay? If you have not looked at the idea of refinancing your home, if you've not looked at the idea of purchasing a home, now's the time to do it. You better take advantage of where rates are at because they're not going to be here forever. Chuck, I tell this every week, and I'm telling you, since the beginning of February, we've lost a half a point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've gained a little bit of pricing back, but we're still losing pricing overall since the beginning of the year. And what does that say? Well, I don't see it going back the other direction. I think it's a slow process. Like I said, volatility. It goes and it comes back, but overall, we're losing pricing.
So it seems like you just got to call in and just see exactly where you're at because you may be in a good position. You can save a lot of money here.
Yeah. And here's the other thing I wanted to talk about. We also had a money savings of the week, and I wanted to talk about that because I wanted to let you know that I had a client come in. This was actually last week, and they told me they were paying down rent, $1,800 a month, and I just approved him for a loan. And what it looks like is that same square footage, same amount of property as far as his location, and he's paying $1,567 a month.
Wow.
So he's saving $233 on his payment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's great because here's the deal: if you're saving money on, hey, I'm going to make the decision on, I'm going to go buy a home. We just talked about this with our last caller. Versus rent.
Mm-hmm.
We have a situation where, look, if I can help somebody save $200 a month, I'm sure I can take that $200 and put it somewhere, right, Chuck?
Of course. I mean, here's the thing, because a lot of people now are living paycheck to paycheck, and I'm sure that they're spending a lot of money on credit cards and stuff like that. If you could take that money and apply that and, start paying that down, remember, this is actually to put you in the right position for future gainings.
Yes, and I agree with you 100%. So, Chuck, do you have anything you want to talk about as far as anybody you've helped this week as far as financing or anything?
Yeah, we actually went into a deal where we were looking at a property for a client, and I knew that this property was not going to appraise.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I negotiated this deal was to have the seller to pay for the appraisal up front
Mm-hmm.
and the due diligence period to be after the appraisal. Now, here's the thing. If it doesn't appraise and the seller's not willing to drop the price at that point, what happens is my buyer did not spend a dime. So we saved about $450 there.
Yeah, I also had a client come in. Hey, there's the money savings of the
There
week.
it is.
We also had a client come in on Friday,
Mm-hmm.
and she was telling me, hey, my rate is at 5%.
Yeah.
And she was telling me, hey, I don't think you're going to be able to save me any money. And I was like, well, let me see what I can do for
Yeah.
you. She went to another lender,
Okay.
told her that, hey, we really can't do anything for you because where rates are at. So
Mhm.
I've looked at this over the course of 2 months.
Yeah.
All right. When she first started, it was actually at the time frame of February.
Mhm.
And she came back into me and she said, hey, kind of keep an eye on where rates are at. And I
Yeah.
monitored rates for 2 months.
So do you monitor it daily or?
I monitor it every day.
Okay.
And the reason why is because I know there's clients that I put in a separate situation where,
Mhm.
hey, they're going to be able to get this refinance done if I can find the rate that they're looking for.
So that's very important where your lender actually watches the market every day, because if you're under contract,
Mhm.
he's going to find out when's the time to lock in, and that's when you're going to call your client. Am I right?
Exactly. So her magic number was, I want to get below 4%.
Mm-hmm.
So I was constantly looking since the beginning of February, we've been going up. So I'm like, I gotta hold on to these.
4%.
There's like 6 or 7 people that are just looking like, hey, when you get to that number, they're like 4%. Oh my God.
Sell.
So anyway, so what happened is that we locked in,
Yeah.
and I'm saving her right now about $316.
$316.
And it's because of me following up, and it's me paying attention to where rates are going,
Mhm.
and I'm saving her money. And people, if you're out there, I can save you money. And I don't know how long it's going to last. I'm telling you, rates will go up. We got another call here, line 1. Hi, this is Dan. This is with Market Snapshot. How can I help you?
Oh, okay. Hi. My name is Adriana. I started this new job where I'm tipped. And I was reaching out to another company to see if they could qualify me, but they said I can't because of my tips. So,
Well, on your tip situation, a lot of times what happens is you need a period of receiving tips, and it's usually 24 months. And what happens is that if you can't string those tips together, then you can't use it as income. Now, let's say you went from working at one job to another job. It's the same line of work, but you're receiving tips. Then I can string those together. But if you're going from a position, let's say you're receiving tips, now it's maybe a W-2 job where it's just an hourly pay or salary, or it's a different profession and you're still receiving tips. A lot of times that has to come down by a case-by-case situation, because now I'm saying, look, you're in a different position, you're in a different employment. How can I string those tips? Are those going to be this consistent with your previous job as they are with your new job?
And let me ask you this, Dan. The tips, do you have to file that with the IRS as well, or?
Yeah, you have to put that on your tax returns.
Okay.
A lot of times what people do, especially in this city, in Las Vegas, is they don't put those tips on their tax returns. And they either write income off or they just don't record it, and I can't use it as income. Now, let's say you go into it and it's showing up on your W-2 form. Well, I can use it if it's showing up there, or if it's showing up in another place, maybe on your pay stub or something, but I got to be able to prove it. Now, that's probably what's happened. It's fallen out because of that reason.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a second opinion, or you want me to take a look at it, I'd love to do that. You can call us outside studio, 781-6682. That's 781-NOVA.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, we can help somebody else.
Oh, there you go. That was a good call.
So let's talk about bankruptcies. Do you know anything about bankruptcies?
Just a little. I
Okay.
haven't filed bankruptcy yet, but
I'm going to do a briefing on this because I think a lot of people have an understanding of bankruptcy, but I want to have everybody that's listening to the show want to understand, what's the differences out there of bankruptcies. And I'm just going to give a quick short segment on this. Now, I think the presence of significant derogatory credit events does increase the likelihood of future default from a bank standpoint. Okay, when we've talked about this before, it's risk and risk assessment. And if you have a bankruptcy, okay, they're looking at it as you're a high risk person to work with, or you're a high person that's going to, if you get a loan, the likelihood of you defaulting has increased.
yeah.
So the solution that they've provided is they've allowed options for you to get back into a loan with extenuating circumstances.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's hear
And
'em.
well, here's the thing. Extenuating circumstances are typically something out of your control. You've had a
Like?
job
Okay.
decrease as far as income. Something's happened to you, or you've had maybe a medical issue, like
So like a hardship.
a real true
Okay.
hardship. Now, the problem with this is it's hard to prove. It's what I can go in and talk to an underwriter about and say, hey, this is this person's situation. I really think they have a problem, of getting, that's why they contributed to having a bankruptcy. And now we have a position here where I think that's a true hardship, but it's harder to sell than you think.
Yeah.
So the reality of it is, the truth about bankruptcy and the different types of bankruptcy is you have the ability to get back into a home and really setting parameters with different loan programs. Okay, different loan programs allow you to get back into a home at different periods and at different times.
But it depends what you file, right? Chapter 7 or Chapter 13?
Exactly.
Okay.
But it's also dependent on what the bank is willing to, on each individual program, allow you to get back into a home with.
So it's just case by case, basically.
It's case by case, but there is some general guidelines to go off of. Now, I don't know if you know this, but bankruptcies will fall off automatically on your credit report after 10 years.
After 10? I thought it was 7.
No,
It's 10?
that's a foreclosure.
Oh, foreclosure?
So that
Okay.
will stay on your credit report for 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So the things I wanted to talk about was, every time somebody gets into a bankruptcy and what they do after a bankruptcy is really what determines them to getting into a loan. I've had a client come in and they had like a situation where they had one late on their credit report. And do you know that the amount of risk that was involved from my underwriter that brought him in
No.
had a huge situation where they didn't approve them, and they should have approved them in any normal situation, but because there was a bankruptcy and because you're proving yourself after the bankruptcy,
Yeah.
one late made her lose the situation for her to be approved.
Wow.
She had to go talk to somebody about getting a non-occupying co-buyer on her discretion to try to come back in and get this done. So let's start off with Chapter 7 bankruptcies. Okay, Chapter 7 bankruptcies is a liquidation proceeding into the debtor's non-exempt assets. It's not required that you pay this back to your creditors. Okay, this is wiping everything clean. Now, what I want to tell you is there is a 4-year waiting period from discharge or dismissal date after bankruptcy, Chapter 7, to get back into a loan on a conventional loan.
I notice a lot of people that are underwater in their home, they want to automatically file for bankruptcy. But what I'm starting to see is when they do that, they tie up the property into bankruptcy, and it's better to do a short sale versus a bankruptcy.
Yeah, and well, here's the other thing, too. If you involved a foreclosure, let's say, in a bankruptcy, well, there's a 4-year waiting period from bankruptcy date, and we've talked about that.
Not only that, it really ties up your property because now the property is in BK and the property's still under your name. And the thing about it is that every month that goes along before the bank actually takes the property back, your credit is getting worse and worse every single month.
Yeah. The other thing is FHA and VA, there's a 2-year waiting period from discharge date.
Oh, that's not that bad.
That's not bad at all. And that's actually the quickest route,
Yeah.
other than this program I'm going to tell you, which is the 1 day out of short sale foreclosure program that we offer. And it's only 6 months, but there's a lot of guidelines to that. We have a lot of show left. When you guys come back, this is Dan French from Nova Home Loans. We'll be back here shortly.
To find out all the information that's going on in financing and real estate.
NMLS number 369115. Broker number 0902429.
Welcome back to the Market Snapshot. This is Dan French here with Nova Home Loans. I'm here with Chakits from Simply Vegas. What's going on today, Chuck?
Nothing. We're bringing you everybody. We're bringing the content.
Let's go right back into bankruptcy. I'm going to lead off with Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I'm not going to touch base too much on this, but Chapter 7 bankruptcy is involving a corporation or a partnership. And, you know, those things are typically not known as far as when you look at them with dealing with what I deal with on a daily basis. I do look at Chapter 13, which is the next one. What that is, you know, you keep the property on a Chapter 13, but you pay a portion of the debts in a 3 to 5 month period. Or not 5 months, 3 to 5 year period. So the debt that's left over besides the home, they have to pay it back within 3 to 5 years.
Oh, wow.
The other thing is that if you want to get back into a home from that chapter, which is, it's not a normal situation, but it does occur, that's a 2-year waiting period from dismissal date. Okay. If you have multiple bankruptcies, you have to wait. On a bankruptcy like that, you have to wait. A 5-year waiting period is required.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty long. You know, if you have multiple, so that means after 5 years, you can try to get back into a loan.
So probably before you even file bankruptcy and put that property in bankruptcy, you might want to sit down with us and figure out a strategy as far as a strategic short sale. Not only that, put a game plan for the near future of obtaining a loan, and you're going to be able to figure out with Dan how long it's going to take you if you go that route.
Yeah, here's a quick note too. When both a bankruptcy and a foreclosure are disclosed on the loan application, okay, when they both appear on a credit report, the lender may apply the bankruptcy waiting period if the lender obtains the appropriate documentation to verify the mortgage loan in question was discharged in the bankruptcy.
Oh, wow.
So that's something to think about. And just to do a quick rundown, okay, let's go over bankruptcy timeframes and guidelines as far as getting back into a loan. All right. Chapter 7 or 11, it's 4 years. Okay. Extenuating circumstances, which we've said is very hard to prove, is only 2 years.
And if FHA you said was 2 years?
Yeah, FHA,
Okay.
I'm going to get into that next. FHA is 2 years. Now, if you have an extenuating circumstance on that, on a Chapter 7 or 11, then it's 1 year if you can prove that. Now, very hard to prove. Okay. Bankruptcy Chapter 13, we said 2 years from dismissal or discharge date. Okay. 4 years from dismissal date. Now, waiting period on extenuating circumstances is 2 years from discharge date or 2 years from dismissal date. And the last thing I want to say is there's multiple bankruptcies. It's 5 years waiting period. It's a 5-year waiting period to get back into a loan.
Wow.
All right? Foreclosures do stay on your credit for 7 years. The quickest route really
Is short sale?
well, you can always look at that route. That's a realtor thinking over here. But you can look at the situation where FHA allows you 3 years after foreclosure. All right?
Mm-hmm.
We do have that 1 day out of short sale program to get you back into a loan right away. Literally, I've seen people come in the next day and really apply for this that had a foreclosure.
Are the fees a little bit higher in the interest rate with that, or?
They are. Well, the fees aren't higher,
Mm-hmm.
but the interest rate's higher. The down payment's higher. The guidelines, we're pretty lenient. But
So you just
yeah.
refinancing basically after that, right?
Well, what it is, and if you want to look at it, it's a
Mhm.
strategic borrower
Okay.
that's getting hard money, but on a cheaper interest rate.
Oh, okay.
So let's go right into and talk a little bit more here on about what I had a story come about. This guy, Jimmy, I want to tell you guys about this. Jimmy asked a question to me. He said he had a bankruptcy over 3 years, but they still denied him for a loan, and why would he be denied? And I think when you look at it, we talked about this before. If you had a situation where you kept your credit in good standing after bankruptcy, it really allows you that much quicker to get back into a home. But any little blemish, when you come back and get financing or trying to get financing,
Mm-hmm.
I told you that lady had one late on her credit, and I couldn't get her a loan.
Wow.
She had to have somebody else, and the findings and my underwriter were going, well, look, that's a huge deal. You can't have somebody that was, dismissing all of that debt and then come back and be late again after that occurred.
Yeah.
So I also want to tell you, Chuck, what's going on with the inspection differences?
Well, the inspections. Here's the thing: when you're buying a home out here as a buyer has a right to choose any inspection company that they choose to. And when you're buying a home, it depends on the type of home. You can have all types of inspections. I'm going to give you a quick rundown. Is like a mode, mechanic inspection, oil tank, pool and spa, roof inspection, septic. Now, there's so many inspections here that you can choose from. When you're going into a property, you need to identify if this property has a septic tank or not, or also a well, or if you actually have a VA loan, you're required to have a pest inspection. Now, keep in mind, all this has to be done within a due diligence period that you negotiate with the seller.
Right.
Now, what I've seen with underwriting, if you check a bunch of these off, sometimes the underwriter may request all these items. So to save you time and money, the best thing to do is hire a general home inspector out there. And a home inspection company covers 5 main components to a house, which is the structure, the roof, the electrical system, the plumbing system, AC and heating unit, and sometimes if you have a pool and spa. Okay? Now, here's the thing. If something comes up with the home inspector, that home inspector will identify and tell you, hey, there's probably mold there's mold with the property, so you may have to hire a mold company. So that's how you're going to save money versus hiring all these people at one time. Now, how to find the right home inspector out there, you can ask your agent, and he can give you a couple referrals.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing is that you can contact a Better Business Bureau, or obviously look online.
Right.
But I'm going to give you 7 questions to ask your home inspector.
Okay.
Okay. Number 1, are you a member of a professional inspection organization? Number 2, how many home inspections have you conducted? Number 3, are you licensed and in good standings? Number 4, are you insured and bonded, and also for how much? Right. And number 5, what will you inspect?
Oh.
Okay. Number 6, what type of inspection report do you offer? Every inspection company has their own type of report, so you want to take a look at that.
Okay.
Last but not least, how much is the home inspection? So it does vary by the age of your home, the square footage,
Okay.
and if there's a pool and spa. Now, why is it so important to hire a home inspection company?
Yeah.
And-
And real quick, is that mandated?
No, it's not mandated.
Okay. But you recommend it.
I always push this towards my client.
Right.
Now, the reason why it's so important is because if we go into a property and there's something wrong and we can prove that the home inspector did not properly do their job, now we can hold somebody liable. There was a case where I had an investor, Asian lady by the name of Gina. We sold about 3 properties. Her last one, she requested that she didn't want to have it because she wanted her husband to do it. I pushed and pushed. It was $350. She finally just did it. The home inspector went out there, looked at it, sent over the report. There was so much water damage from the AC unit, and she called me back and said, hey, Chuck, I want to cancel out of this deal. If she had not ordered this home inspection, she would have lost a lot of money. And you don't want to buy a lemon.
Yeah. Did you say Asian because you're Asian?
Yeah,
I knew it. You got to throw a shout out to your people, right?
that's right.
What else is going on?
So you're telling me there's a chance?
You caught me off guard on there. That was a good one, guys. Good one, Doug.
All right, so let's go into it. If you guys have any questions on bankruptcy, any questions on inspections and differences of inspections out there, give us a call in studio, 257-5963, or you can reach us outside of studio at 781-6682. That's 781-NOVA. And let's talk about if you want a free mortgage assessment or anything regarding the show. Again, I'm going to throw this number out, 257-5396. Let's talk about J.P. Morgan. They had a $50 million payout to compensate homeowners in bankruptcy.
Wow.
And I thought, since we're doing a segment on bankruptcy, let's talk about this. So on Tuesday, the settlement included a payout of including cash, mortgage loan credits, and loan forgiveness to more than 25,000 homeowners that in the department in that statement between 2011 and 2013.
I didn't get no money.
Yeah, I know. Neither did I. I'm a little bit upset about that. They filed more than 50,000 mortgage payment change notices in bankruptcy courts that had not been that have been improperly signed and reviewed. So it sounds like a little bit of maybe a little bit on these situations where, you know, people had a bankruptcy and more than 25% of them had a signature form of or current J.P. Morgan employee who had nothing to do with reviewing the accuracy of bankruptcy filings.
So it was probably like a robo-signing. So it was probably like something was automatically where they automatically
it was
sign it,
something
right?
similar to that. And it's crazy because a lot of times why I'm bringing this up is a lot of times what banks do is they do things on their behalf.
Yeah.
And people just do things like the robo-signing or, file something that the bank is requesting them to do, and they don't know what's affecting them until somebody steps up and says, hey, that's not something you can do.
Yeah.
And this is another indication that, hey, it's the people fighting back against the bigger banks.
Yeah.
Listen, sometimes people overlook things, and it's good when you see this because it looks like it's keeping things accountable.
Yeah.
JP Chase is a very big bank. And for them to have somebody come in this and then they have to pay out that much money tells me that they did something, did some things that's pretty bad. So,
yeah.
But anyways, as part of the proposed settlement, J.P. Chase agreed to pay back $22.4 million in credits and second lien forgiveness to about 400 homeowners. Another $10.8 million will be paid on the form of credits or refund to more than 18,000 homeowners.
Wow.
The lender will also allow its operations to be scrutinized by the independent compliance reviewer. The settlement is subject to court approval. Now, every indication from what I've read says that it is going to be approved. So that's a big deal.
Real big
That's
deal.
a huge big deal. So, hey, Chuck, let's talk about our lender versus realtor face-off. And I wanted to talk. You know why we do this, right? The lender versus realtor face-off.
There it is.
Really, what this is to do is to help answer uncertain questions for buyers and sellers that are in real estate.
All right, fire off.
All right, so you fired off the first time last week. I'm going to fire off this week. Do you want to get an extension? Like, let's say if somebody comes in and gets an extension on a short sale, sometimes you really don't need to know what that process is. So what I'm trying to say is that when you have that situation, what takes place on this?
Well, when you're asking, here's the thing. As a buyer, you never want to ask for an extension, and that's why it's very important to have a dream team where your lender and the buyer and the agent are all on the same page, and you guys are going to close on time.
Right.
Because what happens is at the end of the transaction, if you can't close within that time period, you're going to lose that money.
We got a call on line 1. Hi, this is Dan. Welcome to the Market Snapshot. How can I help you?
Yeah, I was living and working in Arizona, and I've moved here to Las Vegas. Am I going to have a problem getting a loan?
Well, let me say this. Are you planning to live in Arizona?
No, I'm gonna stay here.
Do you have employment lined up in Nevada?
Yeah,
or in Las
working.
Vegas?
I came here for a job.
Okay. So long as you can show that you have an employment contract and you have a 2-year working history.
Yep.
You don't own any properties in.
No.
Okay. Yeah, then you should be fine to come here. We can get you financing. The best thing to do is call me outside studio 781-6682. You can schedule a free consultation, and we'll get that handled.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you.
You bet.
Bye. All right. It's a good call.
Now, with the extension here, you never want to ask for extension because sometimes the seller may come back and say, hey, we want $150 for each extension.
Yeah.
So that's going to come out of your pocket. Now, the seller has the right to say, hey, no, you know what? This deal is done. I want to go ahead and keep the earnest money deposit. So that's why it's very important that you close on time. But sometimes things do come up, okay? And at the end of the day, the buyer wants to buy the home. The seller wants to sell the home. And the agents want to put this deal together.
Right.
So we always go back and we negotiate and we ask the seller, hey, just give us 2 more days. You know, the doc's already at title. Let's just get this thing closed. And 99.9% of the time, they're just, hey, let's go ahead and move forward. But keep in mind, if this is a bank-owned
So you're saying you don't ever want to have an extension, right?
No, not at all.
Right.
But
it does come up.
It does.
So if it does come up, it's really something that you try to deter from, but you want to make sure that it's handled properly.
That is correct.
What's your question?
Well, my question for you is recourse loans and non-recourse loans.
Gotcha.
What's the difference?
Well, let's start off with recourse. What recourse is it allows lenders to collect what is owed for the debt. Lenders have the ability to garnish wages or levy accounts in order to collect the debt. Non-recourse, really what that is, it's opposite. It doesn't allow you to collect anything off of that debt, but you can still foreclose on the property.
So I would say like FHA and VA loans are all recourse loans.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, let me ask you this right here. You know, every time I send a client to you, they don't know how...
Are you trying to jump? Because I was next.
Oh, were you?
I was next.
Oh, my bad.
But go ahead and answer your question. Go ahead and ask it.
I was going to ask you this. As a lender, when I send over a client over to you, you know, the client sometimes don't understand your position, how to get everything together. They think they just come to you, they get approved, and that's it. I want you to explain to our viewers out there your position as a loan officer and the magnitude of the quality of work that you actually do and the things that you have to go through as far as like jumping through hoops.
Well, I think everybody's a case-by-case situation. I think when you have somebody come in, we've talked about this before, everybody's got a different goal. They have a different thought on what they're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
So really, I have to turn into a chameleon and find out, hey, listen, let me listen to their needs first.
Yeah.
Find out how I can help them. And then we just had somebody go through credit services. Okay. We put her through a position to, hey, we need to improve her score by X amount of points.
Yeah.
She had to have some other things that came up on her credit that showed up afterwards as well. So we went through a sourcing thing. And so what I'm saying is everybody's different. There's some people that come in and they're like, hey, I have options. And I think we've talked about this where you just handle people differently.
Okay.
But my normal protocol is they come in, they sit with me, I listen to what their needs are. I know right away within the first 5 to 10 minutes, hey, what bank I'm going to take them to,
okay,
what they're trying to get. And then if there's any issues, I'm always writing little notes down like, okay, this is something that I have to address.
Okay.
This is going to be an issue. And what I'm really looking at is I'm asking these questions, where's the big red flags? You know, you have a property out there that's not being disclosed.
Yeah.
Guess what? I need to know that because I still have to count you for that debt. Even if it's paid off.
Yeah.
You know, if it's not showing up on your credit report, something. So you got to cross all your T's and dot your I's to get that in a position where you have and you're helping everybody differently, but you're accomplishing their goals.
Okay, so basically, if something comes up once they're approved, it is your duty and your obligation to find out how to resolve and put out that fire. Am I correct?
Yeah, but sometimes people don't have a fire.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
Sometimes they do have. When they do have fires, that's when you really got to jump on it and say, well, what am I going to have to do, and what process do I need to take that individual to get them approved?
And this is where it's so important that you disclose everything to your lender, because remember, we have to close within a certain amount of days.
Exactly.
And if you find something on day 35 and you're closing on day 40, you know, whatever he puts out, it may take him additional 4 or 5 days. So we got to get that done right away.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's the process if you have a client that receives money after completing a short sale? How do they get that money?
That's actually through the title company, so they'll get a check or they can go ahead and get that wired. But you're probably talking about when...
And that wires right to their account, so they don't have to go and do
No,
anything?
not at all. Basically what happens is once the short sale is approved, what happens is the title company will let the seller know, how would you like your money? Would you like to come and pick it up at the title company? Or would you like us to wire it over to your account?
Gotcha. All right, fire off.
Well,
your turn.
I don't even know what to ask you. I actually jumped ahead.
All right. What color are my eyes?
Oh, cute.
I got another question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have a good idea if you have a property going to appraise? Like, let's say you go into it, and if you have a good idea that it's not going to appraise, but you have a client that's really adamant about making an offer on a property, you know it's going to be an issue. what do you do to instruct them that says, hey, let's kind of go in a different direction? What do you do?
Well, if my clients are not listening to that, that's my fault, and I do apologize because I'm not educating my client properly.
Okay.
Typically, if we find a property that's completely overpriced, we actually pull up a CMA, which is a comparable market analysis. That analysis will show you exactly what has sold, and we can compare that home to the home that we're looking to purchase, and I'll give you a suggested price of what we should negotiate the property at.
Right.
And also what's going to play a factor is, are we asking for closing costs? So everything is going to play a big part here.
Well, Doug, did I win again? I'm tired of winning these.
You're tired of winning these things?
I'm tired of winning, man.
You know what, Dan? I have to honestly say, you not just won it, but you ran away with it. Not only were you answering the questions, but you actually stopped and helped the customer in the middle of it all.
That takes a lot of talent right there,
And Chuck, what
Doug,
is
you're
Chuck
fired,
doing?
Doug.
Chuck's jumping guns. He's ahead of questions. He's behind questions. I don't know.
It's the energy drink.
I think Chuck's staring at the wall right now, too, while he's talking to you.
So it's very mesmerizing, that wall.
So let's go over some of the things that we offer at Nova Home Loans and what really separates me from my competitors. Now, I want to say one thing. My competitors make things harder than what it is. Okay, they come in and they say, "Hey, it's hard to get a loan because it's taking." They're putting me through the ringer, if you want to say, on trying to get financially approved. They're charging a ton of money. I'm here to tell you that it's not as hard as you think it is. I really try to make it easy on everybody. I always think, if I'm somebody that wasn't a loan officer and I'm going out there to get a loan, what do I want to go through? And I say, you know what? I want to get in there. I want to take the least amount of time that I can to get this approved. And I really want somebody that's going to step up and really take care of me, and I have no worries. And that's what I do.
Yeah.
But what we do and what we offer is we offer free we have a free credit services. We have in-house underwriting and funding, and now that's important. Why is that important? Funding is important because I'm going to tell you, I had a situation on Thursday that because we had the ability to fund, we still met the close of escrow. We had some things that we had to come through, but because I can fund that loan, I didn't have to wait for a funder to fund that loan and wait 2 or 3 days longer. We really funded the next day. And it really kept me in line as far as meeting the close of escrow date.
And I want to bring this up, too, as far as you guys have an underwriter in-house, because if there's any issues, Dan could just walk right down the hall. It's not like a major bank where he's got to call the East Coast, and they're 3 hours ahead. And when we got a couple of days to close, we're going to be running into some issues.
I had to do that recently on a client we're dealing with. So, again, we have status online updates, progress updates every single week. All right. Now, anything that occurs, I will call you Tuesday and give you a detailed call information that lets everybody know that's involved, the seller agent, the buyer agent, and especially the client, about, hey, this is where we're at, and this is what is really going on with that specific file. Now, the other thing you got to look at is well, what else are you going to provide to me? Well, we give online status updates, and what that does is it provides a checklist of things about exactly where the loan's at, where the process is at, where are we ending up. That way, if I call you on Tuesday, hey, we're in underwriting and we might have some conditions, and I'm calling you about where the conditions are at. So that's important. Everybody is communicated to.
That's really important, especially on the listing side, because if they're getting that information and we need to ask for an extension, that's really going to show the listing agent the effort that, hey, we're looking to work together as a team to help the seller and the buyer to get what they want.
We also a 7-day-a-week service, and I know anybody out there says, yes, we are. We're all, I really do. And help people on Saturdays, Sundays. It doesn't matter. I'm answering, questions at night, 9 o'clock at night. The thing is this: when you become a loan officer that everybody can count on or rely on, you really have to be able to be accessible. And I think, Chuck, I know you're accessible, but I'm accessible. If you have any questions, you can email me, text me, somehow get a hold of me, and I'll help you out.
What are you doing after this, Dan?
I don't know yet.
You know what I'm doing?
What's that?
I'm showing property.
There you go. That's a 7-day-a-week service.
There you go.
We're also only offer free things through this show. We offer a free CMA. What is that, Chuck?
CMA stands for Comparable Market Analysis. If you're a buyer or seller, we'll help you identify the value of the property that you're looking to buy or looking to sell. It will show you exactly what has sold in the neighborhood, what's in pending status, contingent status, or what's currently for sale. This is very important, and it's free.
And we also offer a free appraisal and a free home inspection. We said this in the beginning of the show. If you come into me and you say, hey, I want to get that, and you don't reference, I listen to the market snapshot, and you guys are giving away these free appraisals and free home inspection, you're not going to get it.
What's the value for a appraisal?
$425 to $550, depending on what your goals are or what you're trying to get.
Home inspections anywhere from $350 all the way up to $1,000, depending on the size of the property.
The idea of this is this: there's value in that. It should hopefully make you guys or people out there listening to the show give us a call and schedule an appointment, at least to save a little bit of money in that area. The other thing we offer is we offer a free-time home buyer's guide, a first-time home buyer's guide. What is that, Chuck?
It's an educational booklet from A to Z on how to buy a home and get everybody started before anybody meets with us.
We also want to tell you, here's the key points to finding the right loan officer. I've said this before, but I want to say it again before we end up with the show. Interest rates are important. It really dictates your payment. It also dictates how much you're approved for, but that's important. But I also put together other facets that I would look at if you're out looking for finding a loan officer or finding financing. The other one is, what's the fees that company's charging you? I told you there's miscellaneous fees that come from other companies. I've really looked at other good faith estimates, which is really your blueprint to compare against companies. And I'm telling you, I don't charge miscellaneous fees where a lot of my competitors do. So you might really want to take a look at that. If you think you want a second opinion, I can provide that to you. Service. I've told you how good our service is. I'm giving you Tuesday status call updates. I'm also giving you that the online progress updates as far as the checklist goes. So you're never going to not know where things are at, and that's also important. I think if you're picking somebody to work with, you don't want to just look at rates. Rates are important, but it's not the only thing to look at. And then you also got to look at, is somebody really communicating with you and really thinking about, hey, I'm coming in and here's my goals. Here's what I'm looking for. Is this person really looking and listening to what my needs are so I can be accommodated and I can have somebody help me get this loan or get this financing I'm looking for?
Communication is the key. Again,
For everybody.
Exactly. You got to work with everybody.
If you guys want a free mortgage assessment or you have a question on your current loan, you can always reach us outside studio at 781-6682. That's 781-NOVA to schedule a free consultation. Remember, we put this show together to make you all smarter home buyers and smarter home shoppers. This is Dan French with Nova Home Loans. I'm here with Chakits from Simply Vegas. We want to thank you for your listenership.
Woo! Living it up in the city. Got Chuck's on with Saint Laurent. Gotta kiss myself.